Hello again. We are back for week 2 of our postage stamp quilt sew along. So we are going to Hello again. We are back for week 2 of our postage stamp sew along. So last week we kind of worked on gathering our supplies, making sure you had your grid size that you want to use. If you're going to use a grid, if you want to sew a million squares together one by one, more power to you. I'm not doing that. Um, my kids used to always say, I would say that's cheating. They say, no, it's not. It's using all available resources. So by using the grid, we're going to look at it as a resource, not cheating. So if you have not already purchased your grid, if you're going to use one, you can still do that and get caught up with us later on. I am getting low on one or two of the sizes. I did already place an order last week. I think it's coming today. So as soon as I get that in, if I don't have enough for your entire order, as soon as I get that in, I will ship that out. It should be here, I think, either today or tomorrow. I just need to double check. So the first thing we're going to do is gather our supplies, of course. Now we are going to work on cutting our fabrics. So the first thing you want to do with that is to make sure that you are cutting the correct size squares. Now, in this particular grid, whatever grid you're using, this is Tin Sisters Easy Piecing Grid. I like it. It's the softest that I have used. I have another one in stock that's really stiff, and I'm not as big of a fan of it, especially for something like this. But on your panel somewhere or on your thing, it should be printed. So this is the Tin Sisters. It's printed right here. And it says 1.5 inch finished. And below it, it says use 2-inch cut squares. So you're going to cut 2-inch squares to use on this panel. It's going to finish at 1.5. So I have already cut some of mine. You can see over here, I kind of started putting it together, getting a little bit ahead of the game. Something like this is a great way to store and sort all of your pieces. If you're going totally scrappy, this is just an added bonus. If you are going to sort yours and color coordinate them in any way, I recommend you have something. Now, this is just a little box that's got a lid on it. I ordered it on Amazon. I've done a video in the past on it. If you're interested, I'll be happy to send you the link. Just shoot me a message. But this is just foam board. It's just project board, foam board, like you would use on a school project or something. I cut it to fit the correct sizes of the squares that I want. And part of that's going to depend on what you're using it for, how big your box is to begin with, that kind of thing. And now I can put all of these in individual little bins. I've also got glue in here. You can throw a pair of scissors in here. There's a bunch of different things that you can put in here. But if you're going to color coordinate anyway, I recommend you have something to sort it in and to kind of keep it sorted. That's just an extra thing, but it is going to help, especially if you're trying to plan out your layout. So make sure that you are cutting the correct size square or they're not going to fit on your grid. Cutting them too big is better than cutting them too small because you can always cut them down smaller. If you cut it too small, you cannot add fabric to it. So it's going to make things a little bit harder. My recommendation is to cut a whole bunch of squares at one time and set them aside. So if you're doing scrappy, I have a whole bunch of these 2-inch squares that I cut a few weeks ago when I was kind of preparing for this. And they are all just put together and I can pull from that as I want to. I've been trying to kind of spread things out a little bit. and we'll go over that next week when we start actually placing all of them. But I want you to just work on getting them cut this week. If you are doing some sort of a pattern, let's see. I have to go over here to my computer. Okay. So this one here, the first one on the left is completely scrappy, and that's more what I'm going for. If you're doing something like on the right where every other square is a certain color, and you can pick any color, it does not have to be white like it is in this photo. Totally up to you, but you're going to cut a whole bunch of white squares because every other one's going to be white. Does it have to be all the same white? No. If you have a collection of random small pieces of white on whites, cut them up and use them for this. It doesn't all have to be the exact same print. From a distance, you're not ever going to be able to tell the difference. So on that one, you're going to cut fewer scrappy squares and more white squares. This one here on the left, you're going to want, you're going to have a certain number of yellow, a certain number of blue, a certain number, each color that you want to use as that feature color for that block, you want to have that. That's where this tub is going to come in handy, is you can have your blue ones, your yellow ones, your red ones, whatever colors you're using, kind of sorted out. And so whatever colors you want to use is what you are going to collect and cut up. And again, you can use every other square as red without having to use all the same red. The one on the right, the second photo, you have two choices. You can go ahead, you're going to have a bunch of squares for the scrappy. What is it? There's 36, it's a 6x6. So there's 36 squares in that, and then you're going to cut the big block. You can either cut those now, just make sure you're cutting them the right size, or you can cut them later. I'd recommend you cut them later after you've sewn the blocks together to make sure that you're going to cut those the right size, because I'd hate for you to waste all of that fabric and cut them the wrong sizes. If you're going to do something like this, the 9 patches, then you can, those are just going to be scrappy, and you're not going to cut your sashing or anything like that yet. If you're going to do something like the stars, then you're going to want to, you're going to make your 9 patches, which are coordinated. There's 2 fabrics in each 9 patch, it looks like. So you're going to want to kind of say, okay, these are for this 9 patch, these are for this 9 patch, and what colors am I going to use for the points to go with it? So you're going to kind of want to put those together in sets. You can go ahead and cut your squares. Your half square triangles, you're going to make that block ahead of time. So you're going to sew your 2 triangles together however you want to do that. You're going to pre-make that half square triangle block. And then you're going to cut that to the right size square for your grid. Because we're not stitching at diagonals, you don't want to just put 2 triangles on there. That will not work, because that seam between the triangles will never get sewn together. So you want to pre-make that and then set it with it. So for the stars, you're going to have, say, 5 dark pieces, 4 light pieces, and 8 of those half square triangle blocks, so that you can put those stars together if you're doing that. If there's something that you're not sure about, shoot me a message and I will be happy to walk you through exactly what you need to do for that. So the more planned out you're going to be, the more you need to think through how you're cutting, what you're cutting, and how you're sorting. Plastic bags, if you don't want to make one of these tubs or don't have the time or whatever, plastic bags, sandwich bags, snack bags would work really well. Whatever you want to use and whatever works for you. That is your project for this week, your homework. If you have any questions at all, shoot me a message and we will get you situated and that kind of thing. I'm going to be cutting a lot more squares. I debated using all of the mini charm packs and going up to a 2.5 inch grid, but since I've already started this one, I feel like I just need to stick with it. And I had already cut a bunch of the squares. So I think I'm just going to stick with this for now. And not that I won't do a one using all those mini charms later on, but for now I'm just going to stick with this. I am going to go cut a bunch more squares for mine this week and get them all sorted and things like that. Again, if you are still trying to collect your supplies, that's fine. But if you don't have your grid, you can still start cutting. So if you need grid or a glue stick or any of the other supplies, let me know so that I can get it. Go ahead and place your order so I can get it in the mail to you so that you are ready to go to the next step next week, because you will need your grid and a glue stick and an iron and that kind of thing for next week. You also are going to want, if you don't already have one, an applique sheet. It's a silicone sheet that you can put over so the glue does not get on your iron. You're going to want that when we start to press it down. So you don't want just like a pressing cloth, because then that's going to stick to the grid. You want something silicone, non-stick, something like that. I do have some in stock if you need one. Just again, place it on online. They're called applique sheets. And so if you need one, let me know. And again, I will get that sent out to you. I think that's all we need to do for this week. So last week we gathered our supplies. This week we're cutting. Next week we're going to get into the nitty gritty of actually the layout and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I hope y'all have a great week. Have fun cutting. And I'll see you next time for the next steps. Bye.